Good morning, I'm Gretchen Hall. It is a Tuesday, the 29th day of April, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. The Vatican has set May 7 as the start date for the secret conclave to elect the next pope, with around 135 cardinals under the age of 80 from across the world eligible to participate. Former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, Cassandra Ong, and 48 others have been charged with qualified human trafficking linked to Whirlwind Mother Company and Lucky South 99 Pogo. The National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea denies China's claim of sovereign jurisdiction over Sandy Cay, calling it a lie. Philippine authorities asserted our sovereignty and dismissed Beijing's statements as false. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, the Vatican has announced a date for the conclave where the next pope will be elected. More in this report.
Roman Catholic cardinals will meet in a secret conclave to elect a new leader of the church starting May 7. The date was decided during a closed-door meeting of cardinals at the Vatican. Around 135 cardinals, all under the age of 80 and from across the world, are eligible to participate in the conclave. They are banned from communicating with the outside world during the process. The Sistine Chapel, traditionally used for papal election, has been closed to the public to prepare for the conclave. Reverend Father Bien Carlo Manuntag urged the faithful to pray for the cardinals as they discern for the next Holy Father and also for Pope Francis.
We need to pray for the cardinals. Siyempre, ito yung crucial moments na they will select the new pontiff. Pero wala tayong expectation kung sino ang magiging new Holy Father. Because hayaan natin ang Holy Spirit na pumili through the cardinals kung sino ang magiging bagong Papa. So, huwag natin kalimutan to pray for Pope Francis as well, that makasama na niya ang Panginoong Jesucristo.
Meanwhile, Dr. Rico Paulotti, a tourist in Rome, expressed hope that the next leader of the church will carry forward Pope Francis's legacy of love, equality, and inclusivity.
So I'm hoping na ang next leader din ng ating simbahan, para kagaya din po ni Pope Francis, lalo na po kasi na talagang Pope Francis brought the church to the modern world, no? Kasi talagang inclusive, no? Lahat tayo pantay-pantay. 'Yun ang naging mensahe kasi niya at mensahe ng pagmamahal.
The previous two conclaves, held in 2005 and 2013, lasted just 2 days.
Former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque has been formally charged with qualified human trafficking. Roque was charged along with Cassandra Ong and 48 others linked to Whirlwind Mother Company and Lucky South 99 Pogo. Prosecutors said the crime was committed by a syndicate and in large scale, as it was carried out by a group of 3 or more persons. A judge in Angeles, Pampanga will now determine whether there is probable cause to issue an arrest warrant against Roque, Ong, and others. One eyewitness managed to escape the car ramming attack at the Lapu-Lapu block party in Vancouver, Canada. Ramon Lavin and his friends were recording videos of themselves singing moments before an Audi SUV plowed into the street festival. Fortunately, Ramon and his group were near the coffee shop where he worked, which became their hiding spot. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney paid his respects by offering flowers and candles at a makeshift memorial for the victims, describing the moment as incredibly difficult. And now we have on the show Mayo Landicho to talk to us, to share his experience in the car ramming attack. He was there in Vancouver. He's actually the front man of Apple the App in the concert that happened right before the incident. Magandang umaga at magandang gabi sa'yo, Mayo. Unang-una, kamusta ka? Is everything okay on your end?
I would say I'm still shaken up. Medyo traumatic yung experience, but I'm okay right now. I've been okay. Yeah.
Okay. Where were you during this
So
day?
basically, we open up my group. I played with Talilo, Swigil, and those guys from Portland, and we open up for Apple the app. But unfortunately, right after the show, everyone was packing up our things and going to the exit. And I was just lucky enough to be able to get out of that street because we have our booth also. I'm also a tattoo artist and a musician, and we have our booth there. And I was just holding our stuff sa exit, and then suddenly, there's also a roadblock on the street where he came, yung driver. And then they open it up, and I was one of the one who were able to get out of that thing. And then I basically came across, kasalubong ko halos yung car, and then it went. But I didn't know that it went all the way. So I parked my car on my shop, and then somebody was texting me, "Hey, Mayu, where are you? Are you okay?" One of my group, and I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." So what happened? That car that came in just went through all the people, and I was so shocked and panicked because my son and my son-in-law was there. So I ran back to that street, and then but they already closed the street. Ang hirap na makapasok, and then but I see a lot of people going in and going, trying to get in and help those people who were hit by that car. And then yun nga, the ambulance came in and they blocked all the entrance. So luckily I was able to park somewhere, and then I run and then check on with my bandmates too right after that. It was a great show, good vibes all day long. Unfortunately, just right after that show, everyone was trying to get out, and then trying to get my kid out, and I've been trying to call him, but he never answered. Luckily, my son-in-law basically answered the phone, said, "Hey, Tito, we're okay." And then medyo na settle ako, medyo nakalmado, but at the same time, seeing all those people, yung binubuhat nila yung mga patay, at saka yung this horrific event or incident na happened just right after a good celebration. We're trying to celebrate our resistance and resilience. This thing happened. It was so
Mayo,
shocking and
you had
terribly
a
horrific.
friend who was able to run after the suspect.
Actually, and one of my bandmates, a guy from Portland, one of the rapper that I played with on the stage, actually he was also one of the guy who, because we part ways, I went this way and they went this way, and basically after the car stopped, he said he saw it, and then but it tried to run over some more people. Unfortunately, the airbag exploded, so the guy came out of the car and then tried to run on the scene. But there's two other people who run after him, and he saw it, so he jumped over the fence and run after him, and he basically tackled him on the back. That's why, medyo a little bit, sabi ng police, they did their job actually, but the first two respondents are the Filipinos and my friend who were able to tackle him down. That's why they were able to arrest him.
And this guy, the suspect, Kai Jim Law, did not
Yeah,
have any firearm with him.
no, nothing. But the fact is that he, they said he was mentally ill, right? But the fact is that when he came out of the car and get, you know, uh, uh, held by my friend and the two other guys, he was saying, "Oh, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me." And you see from his face that I don't know. They were saying that he got mental health, but it seems like he knows what he done. He done something because he was trying to get out of the crime scene, right? So it's kind of hard, but when you see his face, it's like blank, and the eyes is. It's really sure. I know, because if you were out of your mind and you don't know what you're doing, you will just what happened, right? What happened,
Be
right?
stunned with
But
what you've
basically, he was
done.
saying, "Please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me,"
Mayo,
and he was trying to run away.
Do we know a little bit more about Kai G. Adam Law? He is 30 years old. He has been involved with the police several times.
Yes, yes, yes,
Significant
yes.
history of mental health issues. But
Exactly.
do you think this was just a random attack? Wasn't this
Probably
also a hate
random
crime
attack because
against
the
Filipinos?
word was on the street what
Okay.
he just came out of the mental health institution, right? And right after that, he basically stole his dad's car, which is an Audi, big Audi SUV, black SUV, and then he just went joyriding. But I also heard that he also had some incident before that somewhere in Burnaby and UBC, and the police caught him and then let him go again. That's what trouble the people here. Kasi medyo, the Canadian system is a little bit lenient and medyo super bait sila sa mga ganyan. Oh, he gets some mental health problem. It's a disease and we should help them, which we should, of course. Kaya lang and then letting him go again and, resulting in this incident is, I think, something that we should avoided in the first place because basically they should have kept him for a while, right? So, but unfortunately, mabait nga dito. They were saying they let him go, and then this thing happened.
Mayo, kayo po ba ay based dyan sa Canada?
Yeah,
And
I've
oo.
been I'm a full-time tattoo artist and musician. Based here in Canada, I've been here in Vancouver sa mismo. My shop actually is it's nearby, really near the yung crime scene na yun, or yung street where we did the festival. I've been here for 25 years now. But it still
Oh.
goes back and forth here in the Philippines.
Do you know anybody who had their relatives pass away from this attack? And also, what is the sense of justice that they are seeking for? Is it enough that the suspect is in custody and that he will be tried? Or is the Filipino community crying out for more from the Canadian
Well,
government?
yeah, we were really crying out for more because basically yung system is a little bit lenient, like I had said. And for those victim, actually one of the victim is a 26 years old girl. I know her since she was a kid. She was a daughter of my compadre, and I saw her, grow up, and she's about to get married. Actually, unfortunately, she was one of the fatalities. And then, but the fiance or the boyfriend survived with a broken foot. And then there's a couple more of our friends that I know personally that got hit, and then even the kid that was dancing with us near the stage during the show, he also got hit, and his mom. So we're trying to help everyone, to heal and comfort each other and help them recover well. Actually, after this, we have a vigil, another gathering for prayers. Sa Vancouver, we already had a couple. Yesterday, tatlo. I was able to attend the first one in the morning, and but I have to drive my friends from Portland to the airport and the sky train, the train, because they need to
Well,
go back.
Mayo, we're very happy that everything is good with you and your friends. We do hope that the others, particularly the 11 people who died from this attack, aged 5 to 65, as you put it, even children were hurt by
Oh
this
yeah, yeah,
attack.
I know. It's just
We,
so sad.
our hearts go out to you, and we hope that the Filipino community there can recover. But in the meantime, thank you very much for shedding light and
Oh,
in
of
giving
course,
us
of
more
course, of
details
course.
on your
Yeah,
story, on your side of things, as we wait
yeah.
for our government to also act on what happened. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Mayo Landicho, joining us
Thank
live
you din.
from
Salamat din. Salamat din.
Vancouver.
Salamat.
And now we go to our other top story. As we mentioned, May 7 is the date for the conclave. And to tell us more about that, we have Jovi Francisco joining us live from Rome. Jovi, May 7 has been declared the official start date of the conclave. But what else is going to happen right before that day?
Of course, kailangan tapusin yung Gretchen, yung 9 days of mourning. So, pagkatapos nito, 2 days pa, 2 days pa yung magiging break before magsimula yung conclave, which is May 7. So, 6, May 4, matatapos yung 9 days of mourning. Ang ibig ko lang sabihin, nahati pa yung attention ng mga cardinals natin or yung mga cardinals dahil sa morning yung kanilang usual na mga congregation or pre-conclave meetings na ginaganap sa Pope Paul the Sixth Hall dito sa well, it's still in the complex pero outside the basilica na ito, no. And then sa hapon nasa basilica sila for the daily mass. That is part of the activities doon sa 9 days of mourning or Novenzales, sabi nga nila, Gretch.
So these congregations are happening daily while the masses are happening. Is that their schedule? Araw-araw yan hanggang May 7? Or ang May 4 pala?
As I understand, this week yata yung regular na parang daily meron. Pero parang hindi masasabi na parang katulad kahapon 3 hours yun eh. Gretchen. Nagsimula ng 9 a.m. Parang nasa gitna na tayo ng frontline nung silabas yung mga cardinals doon sa likuran ko doon sa gate na yun nagtry nga na mag-ambush ng international media for at least yung date kasi parang lumabas naman na even nung nagkakaroon ng meeting yung cardinals na ang most possible talaga ay yung May 7, parang 2 days after the 9 days of mourning, pero ang iba pang mga detalye lang galing doon sa ambush interview, like yung pagsasara ng Sistine Chapel as early as yesterday kasi kailangan na ito i-prepare for the conclave at saka yung confirmation na yung chimney doon sa St. Peter's Basilica sa likod nun ay ginagawa na para sigurado na yung system ng black and white smoke ay gumagana na at hindi papalpak.
I asked that question kasi parang ang bigat naman nun, no? Emotionally, you're still mourning, reeling from the passing of Pope Francis. And in the morning, you're talking about the future of the church. What have you heard there? I mean, the pertinent issues when it comes to discussing where the church is headed. Sa mga nakausap mo dyan?
Well, at least yung kahapon yung meeting kung saan nilabas yung date for the start ng conclave is really about scheduling at saka housekeeping nga yung sinabi ko na kung ano yung mga dapat gawin ng mga logistics. And I think yung part din ng pag-assign ng mga toka nila, parang may mga specific silang magiging role, at isa sa mga nabunot via lottery yung makakaroon ng role as an assistant doon sa head ng conclave ay si Cardinal Tagle. So we were waiting for him outside, parang sa ibang pinto lumabas si Cardinal Tagle after that 3-hour meeting, Gretchen. So we didn't see him exit yung gate sa likod ko yesterday.
What does an assistant mean? I mean, what will the cardinal do as assistant to these congregations and conclave preparations? Do we have any idea?
Ang nakita ko lang, nasa columns siya nung isa sa mga assistant doon sa more of yung accounting. I think ipo-pull out ko yung yung advisory na binigay ko sa ating desk yesterday nung lumabas nga yung mahabang resulta nung 9-hour meeting na yon. Na following the prescribed procedure of the Apostolic Constitution, so yung composition ng mga parang komite or yung mga magiging role nila, si Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle and Cardinal Dominic Memberti ay ginawang members by way of lottery nung Council for the Economy. Let me find out today kung ano ang trabaho nung Council of Economy.
Pero tama ba na dun sa isa sa mga congregation, dito rin nag-stand out si Pope Francis. Nagkaroon siya ng speech on where the church should be headed. I believe, parang nabasa ko, question niya yung tendency of the church to turn inward. And in that speech won the hearts of many cardinals, and that's why he was elected Pope. So, yun ba yung significance ng mga congregation? Dito nila pag-uusapan at maaaring mag-stand out yung kahit sinong cardinal.
Pwede yun, kasi actually, ito yung week na parang tinawag na siyang pre-conclave, Gretchen. Pero may mga congregation na, di ba, alam naman natin since last week. So it's really because kailangan nilang magkakilala, especially because most of the cardinals, some of them ay bagong cardinal lang, December lang yata yung ilan sa kanila na-assign ni Pope Francis. So ito yung opportunity na yun. So tama ka, may opportunity for them to stand out kasi talagang meron silang mga meetings na lahat sila bibigyan ng pagkakataon to hindi naman present kundi maipakita yung kanilang sarili na kung ano yung nila, mga vision nila at saka yung mga ideals nila. Tapos, alam din natin sa interview ng media sa ilan mga cardinals na naroon at saka specifically merong interview sa Filipino cardinals, sinasabi nila, so na-mention na meron na silang notes at saka meron silang parang mga data na nakukuha online na official about each other kasi lahat sila candidates 135 of them so ngayon pa lang sinasabihan na sila na study itong mga profile ng mga kasama nyo doon sa conclave dahil pagdating doon sa para alam nyo na yung gagawin pag nandoon na kayo sa loob ng conclave.
Okay, ipagdadasal natin ang mga susunod na araw at napaka-critical ng yan para sa hinaharap ng simbahan. In the meantime, maraming salamat for the updates. We have Joey Francisco reporting to us live from the Vatican. Don't go away. Morning Matters will be right back after a short break. Professor? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Naka-iPad po ba kayo?
Naka-smartphone lang ako. Nasa Taiwan ako ngayon.
Oo nga. Thank you. May security meeting or something?
Wala. I got a fellowship. Taiwan fellowship, research fellowship.
Wow.
I'm here to do research for 5 months.
Oh, okay. How's it there?
Pag-avail kayo, malaking funding sa media. Basta may contact ka lang dito. And it's so close to the Philippines.
Hindi kayo natatakot kasi doon sa mga...
2027 naman.
2027 ba? Hindi
Davidson
2025.
window. Ayun yung Davidson window. Yung assessment ng Indo-PACOM na invade ng China and Taiwan. Of course, based on yun sinasabi ni Xi Jinping.
Oo. Okay, sige. Baka tanungin ko din yan yung kasi
Sure.
si
Link ko sa balikatan Miski yung nangyayari naman Yung
si Romeo
pananakot sa
Browner
atin ng China,
kasi,
link sa
diba?
balikatan. Ayun yung take ko.
Ano pa?
Di ba pag-uusapan natin sa Sandy Cay na sinasay war tayo ng Chinese?
Yes.
Ayun, link yun sa they're showing talagang great discomfort dun sa balikatan.
I'm Gretchen Hall, and this is Morning Matters. The National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea hits back at China over its claim that Sandy Cay. In this photo released by the Chinese Coast Guard, Beijing's national flag can be seen on Sandy Cay too. According to the CCG, they are displaying their sovereign jurisdiction on what they call Tieshen Jiao. But Beijing insisted that they are not creating artificial islands nor any activity of that sort. The National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea, however, hit back, accusing the Chinese government of lying.
We have not lost the Pag-asa case. There is no occupation of the Pag-asa case. There is no seizure or illegal occupation of those cases.
Why could be China interested in the Sandy case near the Pag-asa Island, where we went there last year and saw for ourselves? Find out in this report. It was March 21, 2024, when we accompanied a group of scientists from the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources as they made their way to the Sandy case near Pag-asa Island to conduct marine scientific research. The subject of the study, to understand why piles of dead corals taller than a person line these sandbars.
Ito, yung tinaguriang sandbar. Kung natural ito dito, o kaya tinambak lamang dito, yan ang sinisikap alamin ng ating mga scientists sa kanilang marine resource assessment. May mga alegasyon kasi na nire-reclaim ng China itong parte na ito ng karagatan.
But not long after we got to Sandy Cay 2, just 6 kilometers from Pag-asa Island, a Chinese chopper approached and made circles around our group. And when the scientists got to Sandy Cay 1, the helicopter flew even lower, bringing injury to our experts.
My team and I heard this kind of constant beeping sound. It wasn't painful, but it was uncomfortable because I was kind of worried that we don't have enough time, because I was thinking about this beeping sound and then the low air that we have left, and then thinking that maybe if some of the dive equipment is malfunctioning. So I instructed my team member to actually just leave some of the equipments underwater, and was hoping that we can go back up and then have another dive. But when we got off, I was told that we have to abort.
Jonathan Anticamara, professor at the UP Institute of Biology and one of the divers, noticed a difference in the kind of corals that were found underwater and on top of the pile.
Corals are kind of like this. But these kind of corals, these and these are not found there.
Their findings? The marine life in the Sandy Cay is in a degrading state that could have been caused by a combination of overfishing, climate change, and island building activities.
The pile of rubble was very high compared to anything that can be formed by natural force, like a wave, a storm, or anything. And the fact that these rubbles are so white compared to any other rubble underwater that's natural from underwater suggests that already that this is not from underwater. There are piles of big rubble in the middle, but none of them are on the edges of the.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I didn't see the difference.
Yeah, so it's for me, that's also a telling sign. It's difficult for those bigger rubble to cross from the edges, get into the middle.
Because of the weight.
Yeah.
And they're on top.
Yeah, and then suddenly they're in the middle. So it's like, how can they get there?
In a Bloomberg report in December of 2022, satellite images revealed major changes in the Sandy Cay from 2009 to 2021. Yet what could be the interest of China in the Sandy case, and why have they surrounded them with Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia ships? The answer, a maritime expert reveals, could be found in 2 islands. Pag-asa Island, which the Philippines occupies, and Subi Reef, an artificial island that China has turned into a military base. And lying in the middle of those 2 islands are Sandy Cays 1, 2, 3, and 4.
It has been thought that maybe that's what they're trying to do in order to claim that Subi Reef has its own territorial sea. They're possibly building up these sand keys, no? The possible way by which they are trying to expand, no, their area that they're claiming.
With the arbitral ruling of 2016 declaring Subi or Zamora Reef as a low-tide elevation, it effectively did not recognize China's sovereignty over the man-made island. But the sandy cays, which are classified as a high-tide elevation, meaning it appears even at high tide, could be used to solidify China's claim over Subi. Article 13 of UNCLOS says if China occupies the sandy cays, a 12 nautical mile territorial sea could be drawn around it and give China sovereignty over Subi. On the other hand, with the case being as near as 3 kilometers from Pag-asa Island, the overlapping territorial seas of the Philippines and China could be a source of conflict, with the possibility of China staking claim over Pag-asa.
They're trying to change the physical characteristics of that island. Ang plano nila dyan is gawing isang artificial island as well, where they will compute whatever alleged supposed maritime entitlements they would want, and in effect reverse the 2016 arbitral ruling. Malalim din sila mag-isip at magaling.
Now to help us unpack the latest developments and their implications on regional security, we are joined by international affairs analyst Professor Renato De Castro, live from Taiwan. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning, Gretchen. How are you doing?
Okay, Professor, what is happening now? I mean, all of these sudden stake over territories in the South China Sea, particularly, let's say, the Sandy Cay. We saw that China released a piece of news saying that they have seized it. The Philippine government refuted it, saying that's not true. What is your sense over what is happening?
I think it's China showing that it's not very happy with the ongoing Balikatan exercise. So China is playing what I call a form of cognitive warfare. The attack is primarily psychological, to impress upon us that your, the Balikatan exercise that you're conducting with the United States, the deployment of the Nemesis missiles, the presence of the Typhoon missiles there, the what we call the rehearsals that being conducted will have consequences. And one possible consequence is the fact that we could occupy Sandy Cay and you cannot do anything about it. And of course, after we occupy Sandy Cay, guess what would be next? So the Chinese are expert regarding this form of what you call cognitive warfare or psychological warfare.
So you would call it fake news that China has seized Sandy Cay, from what you know from your sources?
Fake news is part of it. Again, fake news is a form of a psychological warfare. It creates the impression that we have the capability to do so, and we could do so. So again, they're playing with our what I call the fighting the battlefield in what we call the cognitive domain, along of course with some other actions. For example, the passage of the Shandong in the Batanes Strait. Then of course the presence of 3 Chinese warships as the maritime cooperative activity was being conducted. So this is part of what I think is Chinese effort to basically impress upon us your close security relationship with the United States. The Balikatan exercises that are happening will have consequences. And we're showing to you what will be those consequences.
Speaking of the Shandong, what do you think it is researching over there? Is it just part of their Saiwar or meron talagang tinitingnan doon?
Basically, it's impressing upon us and to the Americans, we're not intimidated by your nemesis, your Navy Marine enhanced interdiction system. We're not intimidated by that. We're not intimidated by that group. Of course, they could do it. They could send a carrier battle group under peacetime condition. But at the same time, impressing upon us, we're not intimidated whatever actions, whatever weapon system you're deploying, even as far as Batanes. And we could, in fact, deploy a carrier battle group as near as the coast of northern Luzon.
Okay, going to the Sandy case, what do you think is the broader implication if ever China does get control over the Sandy case? Romel Ong, Rear Admiral Romel Ong mentioned yesterday in Storycon that the government had plans to actually build a post over in Sandy Cay 2 na sabi niya ay pinigilan no, ng Duterte administration. Sa iyong pag-aaral,
Ang challenge of building a structure there is that I think the history behind Sandy Cay. It was created because of the debris generated by the Chinese creation of artificial islands. So I don't think any structure would be able to stay there for a long time because Sandy Cay isn't artificial. It's not artificial in the sense it's created by human beings, but it's as a result of human actions. The destruction of several coral reefs, primarily by the Chinese, when they build those artificial islands. And I think, I guess I'm basing this from what Associate Justice Carpio told me. So it was carried by the waters, creating that sort of an artificial island. So I don't think any structure could stand on the artificial feature of Sandy Cay. And of course, if China or the Philippines would occupy it, this would be in violation of the spirit of the 2002 Declaration of the Code of Conduct, that no feature in the South China Sea should be occupied. There should be no new occupation. So this is a sort of a game both the Philippines and of course China are playing.
Actually, tinanong namin yan kay Jonathan Anticamara, one of the scientists who went to the marine resource assessment there. At ang sabi niya, it could not have drifted from Subi Reef because yung Sandy Cay 4 ay hindi mahahanapan nung ganong debris. Yung Sandy Cay 1, 2, and 3 lamang. Pero yung 4, bakit daw na-spare yun, no? Kung talagang ito ay galing sa Subi Reef. So, actually, a lot of questions still. But what does the UN arbitral ruling say about Subi Reef and what the occupation of Sandy Cay could possibly mean? Did we get that right? In a report that we aired prior to this interview, did we get that right? That if somebody takes over Sandy Cay, then dun sa territorial sea nito, masasama yung Subi Reef at possibly yung Pag-asa.
Gretchen, I'm not a legal expert. I'm not in a position to talk about UNCLOS. So a better person will be probably Professor J. Matumbakal or Associate Justice Carpio. I'm sorry, I cannot answer it. My area of specialization is primarily the strategic domain, not the legal aspect. I'm sorry, I could not answer it.
All right, no problem. Okay, let's go to what you mentioned, the 2002 Code of Conduct. No? As you mentioned, dapat walang pagbabago dito sa South China Sea, as agreed upon by the nations who signed that Code of Conduct together with China. But that's not what we're seeing at the Sandy case. At the Bajo de Masinloc, nakita natin that they have strengthened or tightened their controls over Bajo de Masinloc. What is happening here? Should we hear more of the other ASEAN countries protest what China is doing?
First of all, as the term implied, the declaration of the Code of Conduct is not binding. It's separate from the Code of Conduct that's being negotiated right now. Regarding most ASEAN countries, possibly with the exception of Vietnam, don't expect much. Many member states of the Association of Southeast Asian, especially, of course, those in continental Southeast Asia, couldn't care less about what's happening in the South China Sea, and more specifically in this land features. It's not in their interest. Cambodia, Myanmar, don't expect them. Among the littoral Southeast Asian states, I won't have to mention them. They want to maintain they maintain their close economic relation with China. So they don't want to touch the sensitive nerves of China when it comes to this. So when it comes to this issue, this is primarily our concern and probably Vietnam. But for the rest of Southeast Asian countries, it's none of their business.
So, wala tayong asahan sa mga ibang ASEAN countries when it comes to these changes.
I guess not, unless of course maybe next year, because they'll be attending the ASEAN activities. We're the host, so probably in terms of rhetoric, they would voice their concerns, so forth and so on. But at the end of the day, it's not their interest to get involved in the South China Sea issue.
I want to go to what you said a while ago about the Balikatan exercises ruffling China's feathers. Could the Taiwan equation be involved here?
Yeah, because again, the Balikatan exercise, the full, what's the term this? Full battle test we're conducting, especially in the Batanes, is a signal to the Chinese that, and of course the announcement of Lieutenant General Romeo Browner a couple of weeks ago that we cannot be neutral when it comes to a Chinese invasion of Taiwan because of the proximity and because of the fact we have hundreds of about I think 250,000 Filipinos working here in Taiwan. So in a way, we're touching to what the Chinese would call the core of their core interests. In 2010, China announced three core interests. There are, of course, Tibet, South China Sea, and the most important for them, of course, is Taiwan. So the mere fact that we're touching basically indicating that we will not be passive if China would pursue, of course, in addressing the core of its core interest, which is Taiwan. It's telling us, your actions that has to do anything to do with Taiwan, South China Sea, and of course, the fact that you're bringing an external actor will have consequences.
What is the temperature over there in Taiwan? As you mentioned,
it's very cool. It's very cool. It's 21 degrees and it was raining yesterday.
So we don't expect anything in 2025. There's no cause for
hopefully,
alarm still.
Yeah. Again, if you talk about Taiwan, we're talking about the Davidson window, which is, of course, the assessment of then U.S. Indo-PACOM Commander Admiral Davidson about the possibility that China would effect its armed unification with Taiwan. The date is supposed to be 2027. That's, of course, also indicated by President Xi Jinping. He wants the Taiwan issue, the Taiwan question resolved by 2027.
Given the Saiwar tactics implemented by China, as you mentioned, how should the Philippine government respond then and play this game? Should we even be playing this kind of game too?
We have to play it smart because China have all the aces in sleeves because it has the largest navy in the world. It has, of course, the military. It could basically occupy Sandy Cay and, of course, triggered another major crisis. So we have to play it smartly. Have to take, while also playing it smartly, we have to also to be aware of calculated risks we have to take.
And what does that mean? I mean, in concrete terms, should we also try to raise the Philippine flag in different territories all over the West Philippine Sea? I mean, is that how we should play it?
That's a calculated risk. If the government would like to take it, well, that's it. Every action we take, given the fact that China has all the aces in sleeves, have to be on the basis of a calculated risk.
Meaning we should be a little bit more on the offense mode instead of being on the receiving end.
Prudently.
Okay.
I have to play it prudently. Just like, what Sun Tzu would say, we should be like water. A water adjusts to the terrain. But of course, in the case of the terrain, China's a very big terrain.
What is your sense on the United States? One of their first moves was to send Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth over to the Philippines. Is there continuity over the U.S. government's stance at yung aasahan natin sa kanila when it comes to the Mutual Defense Treaty?
Well, they have to look at terms of the broad. What's the policy of the Trump administration? The Trump administration has actually been consistent ever since 2027, when it openly declared a strategic competition against China and Russia. But of course, right now, the real focus is China. So it has been consistent since 2017, first Trump administration up to now. The priority is, if you have to look at all American actions going on, number one, of course, is the decision to slowly shift away from its focus in Europe and what they call the Euro-Atlantic, and of course, addressing Russian invasion of Ukraine, to efforts, of course, to annex Panama, get control of the Panama Canal, the tariff war, and even the decision to increase U.S. defense budget by $1 trillion. All of them are directed, of course, in addressing what they call, I'm using the euphemism used by the Pentagon and even by the White House, the peer competitor. The most capable peer competitor that the United States is facing right now, and that is, of course, China. What they call this is a term they use, sort of a creeping threat of China. Slowly, China's threat is becoming more apparent than ever from the perspective, of course, of the White House.
And what does the economic or trade war have to do with what's happening out at sea? Is that totally separate from
It's
that?
part. It's part. Number one, of
Oh.
course, with the trade war, the target of the trade war is actually China. Among the countries that had been hit by the tariff, almost all countries sought negotiation with the Trump administration, with one exception, and that's China. China is the only country that immediately retaliated against the United States action. And of course, the tariff is also linked with the need of the Trump administration to raise resources that would, of course, enable it to finance, to pay for a $1 trillion defense expenditure. That, of course, will be submitted next fiscal year, 2026. U.S. defense budget would go up to $1 trillion. How could the Trump administration raise $1 trillion, given the fact that it's now affecting what we call tax breaks, especially for many affluent Americans? The only way that the United States could raise that $1 trillion for its defense expenditure is, of course, tariff, and also an effort to effect a deindustrialization of China. Because companies right now in China, American companies right now in China, are moving out because they would lose money if they continue shipping their products from China to the United States because of how many? 146% tariff.
But when it comes to the Philippines, how do we view our economic relations with China? If on one end we're fighting them out at sea, on the other end, we have the Chinese government reaching out to the Philippines, possibly to strengthen trade relations over missed opportunities with the United States. They have said that there are possible business ties that we can strengthen. Should we go that route? Paano natin hihimayin yun, ano?
Yeah, we're really caught in the middle of a great power competition. But I think the president already made a decision that we have to align ourselves with the United States. And of course, take into account the visit of President Xi Jinping in Southeast Asia. He visited 3 countries, Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia. Obviously, we skip as the Philippines.
We make those negotiations with the big picture in mind, and for sure, it will be a smarter, wiser decision. Maraming salamat, Professor Renato De
Thank you very much,
Castro,
Gretchen. Thank you very much to our viewers.
helping
Have a great day.
analyze all that's happening out in the West Philippine Sea. And thank you so much for joining us from Taiwan. Ingat po kayo dyan. Stay tuned. More on this show when Morning Matters returns. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Octa Research President Professor Ranjit Rai said the senatorial race for the 2025 midterm elections remains dynamic. He stressed that the final stretch of the campaign could still impact the rankings for 10th, 11th, and 12th spots in the so-called Magic 12. Meanwhile,
given the time that exists for campaigning, I would think that the numbers will change, and that there's a really a close fight for 10, 11, and 12.
Meanwhile, Rai pointed out that President Bongbong Marcos continues to enjoy majority trust and approval from Filipinos despite a slight dip in his latest ratings. In contrast, Vice President Sara Duterte saw a significant increase in her trust and approval ratings.
In the case of the President, majority of Filipinos continue to trust and approve of his performance despite the declines. As far as VP Sara is concerned, we saw a surge in her numbers for trust and performance.
Ang bombero ng Pilipinas Party List nominee Leninsky Bacud was shot dead by a riding in tandem in Sampaloc, Manila on Monday, April 28. Bacud, who was with his child and a police friend, was ambushed while standing at a covered court around 5 p.m. His police companion was wounded after exchanging gunfire with the suspects. Bacud was rushed to the hospital, was declared dead on arrival. A manhunt is underway as the authorities investigate the motive behind the attack. And the local absentee voting for those who will be working on election day has begun. Absentee voters such as media workers, government workers, and uniformed personnel have until tomorrow to cast their votes. Local absentee voters may only vote for national positions, senatorial bets, and party list groups. This is the first time that the local absentee voting is being conducted with automated counting machines.
Sapagkat naandyan yung mga makina, bakit naman hindi natin gagamitin? At saka gusto natin mapabilis din yung proseso without compromising the integrity of the results of the election. Nung nakakaraang mga panahon, laging mga 5 araw, inaabot ang pagbibilang ng bawat isang balota na binoto ng ating mga kababayan sa local absentee. Ngayon, sa gabi ng Mayo 12, tapos na kaagad ang local absentee voting.
And that's it for today's episode of Morning Matters. My name is Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time.